Schalke. Oh, they've done it! Terodde, an instant hero! Can you believe it? Plenty attacking! No! The comeback is complete! A stunning second half from Schalke!
Blau und Weiß sein Leben lang. Herzlich willkommen zurück auf Victory Monday. It's a Victory Monday podcast. Schalke America back with you. I'm your host, Richard Carmen. Joining me as always on this Victory Monday, Jack Mangan. How we doing, my friend?
Good thing that it's a Victory Monday as well, because I think it would have been quite a somber mood if it wasn't given the opponent. Important game for us to kind of right the ship and snag 3 points, and glad to have done that.
Absolutely. And Erica, I see is in the chat. Gluk off to you. Gluk off to everyone listening, wherever you may listen to, whether it's YouTube or streaming on podcasts, wherever. Interesting game, Jack. We're not going to get too much into it. We win against Osnabrück, team who was dead last in the table. We won 4-0. Emphatic victory, maybe. Goals from Marcin Kaminski in the 20th minute off a corner kick from Seguin, excuse me. Speaking of him, coming out of the break, really on like 33 minutes in, a nice over the top ball by Fairman. Terodde gets a nice chest off of it. Moore, who I thought had a fantastic game, over the top finds Merkin over the top. Moore plays a dummy, falls right into the feet of Seguin, who puts it away 2-0 at that point. Love seeing that. Terodde get fouled in the box. Again, nice play by Moore to kind of set that up. Simon converts the penalty, gets a goal after the birth of his daughter this week, and then to cap things off, a goal which is originally given to Keenan Karaman was considered an old goal by Florian Kleinhansel. So 4-0 victory, Jack. Before I get about the game, I mean, the lineup was interesting in this one because the starting lineup, we get Simon Terodde back in the lineup. Obviously, I mentioned that he scored the goal. And the change in formation, which we'll get to in a second, but it's a 4-4-2 diamond with Matriciane, Kalash, Kaminski, and Merkin in the back. A diamond 4 of Schallenberg, Moore on the left, Seguin on the right, Karaman up, hold on top of the diamond with Terodde and Lasma. I saw this lineup. I wasn't sure what to think. Obviously, we need some help defensively. I know the midfielders needed to help the defense for sure, but see this lineup, I was okay. I mean, obviously having Simon Terodde back. We talked about Seguin, how impactful can he be? He seemed pretty good in the last game. Thoughts when you saw this lineup head into the game?
Yeah, it made me wish I could have actually watched more of the game, this being like a Friday game during the work and everything, also not on ESPN Plus, so difficult for us to catch it. So I'm mostly operating off of highlights for the most part and some extended things that I've seen. But I wish I could have seen it more, just because another wrinkle in terms of a starting shape, probably like the third kind of different shape that GERAERTS has put forward since he's taken over. So still clearly in like an experimental phase. Not that maybe he'll be a manager that will constantly tweak things depending on the matchup, but certainly seems like maybe he's taking an opportunity against what should be a favorable opponent to try something different in sort of a lower stake situation potentially. So interesting to see Terodde back in there. Don't necessarily expect that to be something that we see consistently. I think this is just probably once again a one-off, getting him some match minutes against the bottom team in the table. But nice that he capitalized on it, and big week for him, obviously, as you mentioned, with the birth of his daughter.
I know during press conferences we'll get to one of the comments is like, hey, if Terodde really wasn't at practice this week, why'd you start him? And it's like he's obviously got quality still, even despite his 35 years old or whatever he is, much younger lad than I am. But no, it's overall 4-0 victory. Like I said, going into the half was 1-0. Okay game, but we needed some goals. We needed some cushion, as we always do, and we not only won 4-0, we got a shutout. I don't really want to get into the game because it's Osnabrück and they're bottom of the table, right? It's nice that we won. It is nice that we won, but I mean, like, we can't take too much stock in this victory, right? We need to get on a roll. We need to get on in form. It's nice to have the one. It was obviously nice to have a victory Monday, right? But I mean, How much stock are you taking into this 4-0 win, with the Rangers season still to go, and we're still in 16th position? Or are you saying this is a good way to kick things off?
No, yeah, I mean, I'm not taking much stock in it. I think it's nice to get a clean sheet, which our defense desperately needed.
Yeah.
And I think it's nice to, get a comprehensive win, another good offensive performance, and once again, getting the likes of Terodde involved. And Seguin getting a goal important as well. Obviously, we haven't really seen a ton of him early on, but involved in the last couple of games and playing pretty well. Score too. Yeah, no, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily look at this as suddenly optimism after that 5-3 loss, saying, "Oh, look, we've righted the ship or something." This was a result we expected to get. It was nice to get it by the margin that we did, but no more than just sort of business as usual here. And then but hopefully it's a stepping stone to continue the rest of the season with the winter pause coming up pretty soon.
I think the best part of this game was that we didn't have to struggle for a win. It wasn't like gritting our teeth to the end of the game, hoping that we'd win the game. It was like pretty emphatic. Once we got that second goal, it didn't seem like Osnabrück was in it. And then obviously when Terodde scored his goal, it's like, okay, we won the game. Let's just see it out now. That was nice for sure. But the one thing I do want to talk about in this game is that they went with the 4-4-2 diamond formation. Schalke talked about how that was nice. I don't have the quote right in front of me, but he talked about how it was nice to go with the 4-4-2 diamond, a little bit help in the midfield where previously they maybe had 3 guys, or maybe the 3 guys were much more in advanced roles. This is a little bit more even shape, I guess, and
helps create triangles.
Yeah, excellent. That's what he said. Yeah, the triangles were there, the passing lanes were there, and one of the things I noticed with the Gerardt system when I was looking it up, when I was researching it early on, was that what he looks for is those triangles and those quick passing abilities, and the diamond offers that ability. And Schallenberg spoke to it not only in practice but also in the game. It showed. Yeah, again, it's Osnabrück, but I think this could be something we see, or maybe to your point, maybe just every game, depending on the opponent, we tweak it just a little bit here and there, because I don't know if we can be married to one position, given that maybe our talent isn't the greatest in the grand scheme of things. What are your thoughts on the diamond helping out with the triangle in the passing?
I mean, I love me a good diamond, whether it's a 4-4-2 or 4-5-1 diamond.
Yeah,
and always have been, always will be. But no, what I would say is, I think particularly in a team, if you look at the squad that maybe lacks a lot of kind of like natural archetypal winger talent, it makes more sense to pull those wide players into more of like a central midfield shape in that diamond. You can keep them a little bit more like narrow in possession, don't have to expose them as much on the side. So I think that it could in theory be a shape that actually sort of fits our personnel maybe a little bit better than what we've been trying to do overall. I think it's still kind of up in the air whether or not a back 4 or a back 5, 3 center backs, 2 center backs is sort of the preferred arrangement for this group of players. And then still waiting to see, like Cisse or somebody for Gerardts too. Has he featured under the new manager yet? I don't think he has either. So
I don't think he has. In friendlies he has, but not in actual games.
And see like Baumgartel sort of out of the equation at the moment too. So interesting to know exactly how it's going to go going forward. But I thought it was fun to see, if nothing else, at least for a one-off.
We're going to have obviously, as we always do, the Winterpause is a long time off. And so I'll probably got me some Football Manager 24, so I'll experiment to see what kind of lineups I think may work for Schalke. We'll see maybe if I'm any good. No, maybe I'm better than the guards. No. The lineup was interesting. I think the one thing missing from the starting 11 and even the substitutes was no Thomas Oweyan. We knew he was suspended. Is sent down to the U23s, obviously, for his tirade or whatever you want to call it last week. But we did get to see some youngsters on the bench, obviously, and guys we saw in this game. Kiki Top got involved. He was involved. It was nice. Drizzy Templeman and Cedric Brunner. Guy I forgot was on the team via Instagram. It's a pretty funny guy on Instagram. He said, what was it? He said, "Yes, I still play football." I was watching the game and the ball went to the corner and I'm like, wait, is that Brunner? Cedric Brunner? He still plays for us? I totally forgot about him. I think he was injured or something. He just was gone. I didn't think anything of it. I forgot he was injured.
Yeah, it's like, why do you think Petrosiani's been the fixture that he's been? We're thin back there. We're not that thin.
Yeah. Not that thin to have the goat there all the time, right? But I do want to get into some of the quotes because as much as fun as the game was, there were some interesting quotes in the press conference afterwards. First, I want to we'll play little clips here and there and to talk about it. But here's Gerardt's comments when he first assessing the game and how it went. Make a screen big here. Come on, there we go. There we go.
I think today, of course, when you win 4-0, it's a good feeling. The most important for me today was to see that my team start well. I think we all saw last 2 games that we had a bad start of the game, and that from that moment we need to follow. Last week we start play football after only 30 minutes. Today, it was good to see that my team from the first second they were present, they were aware of the situation. No matter against which team that we played today, I saw the team focused, and that was the most important. And okay, today we score. I think we are strong in set pieces. We score in a good moment. Of course, this helps. But the message in the second half was clear that we cannot only defend the first goal. We need to go and look for the second. And then once that goal was scored, then you see that my players also took confidence and they start playing and they fight.
So I'll stop it right there. But so he says, obviously, I think what the key in this game was that the start was much better. I mean, how many, not only just the last 2 games, but I don't know how many times this season have we said, like, we didn't wake up until 20 minutes in, 30 minutes in, halftime. And this one from this game, from the get-go, I forget how early we scored the first goal. I think Kaminsky scored 20 minutes in or something, but a good start to the game. Obviously, it's the opponent you want to do it to, but a much improved start, I think, in this one compared to what we've seen in the past, and I think that helps a lot. I mean, we've had good starts in the past, which blew up in our face. We talked about that last week, but you still want to start on the front end versus on the back foot.
Yeah, definitely a consistent source of frustration for us. I think on the pod this year is the hole that we've been digging ourselves early in matches, and the amount of time it takes for us to seem to kind of switch on and maybe gain some belief at times. So can agree with him on that front, particularly against the opponent. Would have been doubly concerning if we had once again started poorly against Osnabrück, gone down early, that kind of a thing. So glad that we didn't do that. And I mean, I think I agree. I think from the beginning, we were having a lot of joy from wide areas too, getting balls in, stuff in transition. So definitely looked up for it.
Absolutely. Next, I'm going to play a clip on him talking about Simon Terodde. I mentioned Andreas Ernst posed a question to him, so I'll let you hear the clip in its entirety. It's a short clip here.
Something about Simon Terodde. He had an eventful week. His father of a daughter. And didn't take part every day of the training. Why was he in the starting lineup? And what do we say about
kudos to Ernst for his English, by the way.
What he did today?
Yes, because Simon is a good player. That's why he was in the lineup to start. He was not there on training yesterday. He was not there 2 days ago because when you become father, you never know when it will happen. So it took 2 days. But in my world, already from the start of the week, it was clear that Simon could play this game. Of course, you need to speak with him for the last 2 days if he slept a little bit or not. But I know when you become father that you are in the clouds. And Simon showed today that he was there. We scored a good goal, and he was really important for the team when we speak about structure, about taking the lead on the field.
So there he's talking about what Simon Terodde brings to the team in terms of leadership and stuff like that. We've been wondering, like, we've seen so far this season that maybe, especially under GERAERTS, that maybe Terodde hasn't been always the first name on the sheet, even under Rice as well. And we were wondering, or at least I was wondering, I don't know about you, but I was wondering, like, has Terodde lost a step in practice, or are they just favoring Lasma and Kramer because they're kind of hot? So it's nice to hear words, at least from GERAERTS, saying that he obviously understands how important Simon Terodde is. He's obviously a good leader, and obviously seeing that he just had a baby, he'd probably be more motivated than even before. And so what are your thoughts on his comments on Terodde and just having him back in the starting lineup?
I mean, look, it's only going to be downhill for Terodde, I think, from here on out. In terms, no, not like from this performance, at this point in his career, in terms of his physical gifts and whatnot. Like, I think the losing a step is going to kind of increasingly become a thing. I mean, but honestly, I think the reason we haven't seen as much of him is that, especially given his lack of mobility at this point, he's a striker that needs some semblance of organization and service around him for you to even really get anything out of him. And if you have that, he can be a serious contributor. If you don't, he's taking up space and he's not really helping you against the ball as much and everything. And so I think it makes a lot more sense, particularly early in the season when things are just an absolute mess, to have people on that can at least run a little bit more and put some pressure on people and, try to break things open a little bit. But I mean, what I will say is like the things I love about Zeman, that like the second he gets on the pitch, there's things that you notice about him that are just a class above other people. There was a chance early in the game that honestly I was actually kind of frustrated that he hit this wide and didn't get this on target. So he had enough to shoot at, but ball kind of comes in, plays it off his chest, and sort of in one motion turns and just immediately fires this like to the left of the post.
Yeah.
Once again, it's that decisiveness, that economy of motion. You just don't see that from a lot of the guys on our team, and that's one of the things that excited us when he came on the team a couple seasons ago. And from the get-go, we're like, wow, we finally have a proper number 9 again. So even though he's not really putting in those performances as the moment and is unlikely to kind of recapture some of what we've seen from him in a Schalke shirt already, I think those parts of his game shone through in this performance as well, though. And it just goes to show you, if we actually get into a situation where we can establish a little bit more of a rhythm and a structure and kind of can play in a consistent way and provide him service, he can probably be more of a contributor down the stretch. I still don't think he's going to be our starting striker at any point this season for the most part, but I think you might see him worked into the rotation a bit more and more cameo appearances and whatnot. I think everyone would love that. So
I say, and I wonder because like I think in this game in particular, because we used that 4-4-2 diamond, Terodde did seem to be more involved, whether it was in the middle of the pitch, like on the goal that Seguin scored. He received the ball off his chest in that one motion, right? Gave it over to Merkin, beautifully done. Like I said, it's the economy of motion, the way, the skill set he has that not many of the strikers on our team have, or maybe even the league. And then a lot of times he was holding up the ball, getting involved, getting his opportunities in front of the goal. He had 6 shots in this game. I mean, I think he had the most shots in this game out of anybody. So maybe this formation leads to that. And I think also Moore, I thought, played a pretty good game. He was active all over the place. Seguin as well, who had another good game.
Hey, you talk about Urian being out. Gerards has no issue playing that Merkin at left back with Tobias Moore on the pitch at the moment. Both of them are doing well, since Urian's be out in that role. So interesting to keep tabs on that going forward.
And I think too that we said as many times how whether it's Merkin, Owayan, Moore, whoever, one of those guys can't do the job. We need almost both those guys, 2 guys out there, because one guy can focus on the defense, other guy can push up a little more. We've seen Merkin push up still, even though he's a back 4, back 3, whatever. And so it's been a nice change, and it's going to be hard for Thomas Owayan to get his spot back the way Moore and Merkin are playing. Merkin's playing pretty okay this year. He's probably the best of the left-sided defender or left-sided players. But Moore has been, he had some really good games lately. So, it's very possible that Owayan, unless he has something, comes off the bench and has something, spectacular, he may not see much of the pitch time this year, barring an injury or anything like that. So, speaking of Paul Seguin, I want to go to the next clip where interesting words by Gerards on Seguin, and I want to get your thoughts on it because when he said, you'll know what he says when he says it, because it took me aback when I heard it. But let's just play the clip here, and I'll shut up.
Paul Seguin was in the starting lineup and scored a goal. How do you rate his performance today?
Yes, a good game, like he was last week also in Düsseldorf when he came. Paul is per intrinsic is one of the best football players I have in my squad. And I think for him it's important that he played today 90 minutes. I hope his goal also will give him confidence to continue what he is doing. And if Paul can play every week on this level, I think the team will profit a lot of his performances.
So one of the best 4 players on the team. We've talked about how Seguin, when he's good, he's a contributor, right? Would you say maybe Gerards is saying that's to pump up his player, but would you consider Seguin one of the 4 best players on the team? I'm just curious your thoughts.
Is that what he actually said? Because like for some reason that second video was like echoing more when it was coming through for me. Like we were like he was speaking in a large stadium to a large group of people.
He said for me, Paul Seguin is one of the top 4 players on the club. Is what his words were.
I mean, if that's what he said. I mean, no, I don't really agree with that in principle. But I mean, I will say it's encouraging to see guys that have been on the periphery or left out, been afterthoughts at times early this season to get an opportunity and make the most of it. And I think Tobias Moore, who you just mentioned a minute ago, and then of course Seguin as well, are 2 good examples of that over the past 2-3 games, whatnot. as I mentioned last week, you know, even in that 5-3 loss, I thought that when Seguin came on, he helped us establish a rhythm. Like let's say he can play balls with a weight that sort of conserves momentum of certain moves. At moments, I think better than some other people. So there's and I thought he took his goal well in this one. You know, fortunate to kind of land where it did, but you know, decisive, good finish, hard, low into the corner, no nonsense. Love to see it. So, at a minimum, play the hot hand, and then you know, until Seguin gives us a reason to take him out, keep rolling with him.
Yeah, and I think managers often say, like, some managers are set with their starting 11, and then this is my starting 11. We're going to go hell or high water, right? But there's other managers, which I think Gerards is, where you know they ride the hot hand. Everyone's got to compete. He said there's no guaranteed positions. Everyone has to compete in practice. I want to see that you're trying. And then, you know, as a result, you that strong performance in practice, you get a call up like this, and then, you know, hey, you become all of a sudden a hot hand. Karaman's been a hot hand recently. More starting to become a hot hand. It seems like Kaminsky is kind of shaking some of the cobwebs and is starting to get into rhythm. You know, last game was, you know, it is what it is. But and then Fairman's been, you know, playing well lately too. So it'll be interesting to see how this progresses going forward. But Seguin, you know, let's see what he does against Hansa Rostock coming up this Sunday, and if he can continue that form, I imagine he'll get another start in this one, whether Simon does or not. I don't know, but Seguin, more Schallenberg, probably given Karaman as well, right? So curious to see if they can build off this momentum. You know, that's the thing. You know, 4-0, it's a nice victory, but it's nothing if you go to the next game and you crap the bed. But
I mean, well, the nice thing is that 3 points kind of pulls us right back into the orbit of a lot of the teams in front of us. Like, you know, Braunschweig and Osnabrück below us are, you know, 3-4 results away from kind of the rest of the pack. Now, when we're at 16 points, we're just one off of, you know, 15th and 14th. Hansa Rostock being one of those teams, our next opponent. So another opportunity off the back of Osnabrück to potentially get another result. You know, Kaiserslautern, Magdeburg
at 19, 3 points ahead of us.
Exactly. So, you know, 12 points is within a result, essentially. And then even all the way up to 8th place where Hertha Berlin is. That's 5 points at the moment. So this is what we were saying earlier, is like, you don't have to go panic mode yet. It's not full Armageddon. Like, you know, if things don't improve, then like, we're in a relegation fight, and currently we're still down there. So like, we have to take that seriously and, you know, keep that as a possibility. But the math is not such that we need to go into total despair mode yet. And if we rattle off a couple wins, we can be in a better position pretty soon. We just need a little bit more consistency. Which we haven't necessarily gotten under Gerards so far.
No, and like I said, we got 2 games that we can somewhat right the ship going into the big Winterpause. Obviously, Hansa Rostock is this weekend, who are 1 point ahead of us in the table, 1 place ahead of us in the table, and then we ended the next week against Greuther Fürth, who currently are in 5th place, but you know, 27 points. I mean, if we get a result there, you know, that's 6 points in the last 2 games, and all of a sudden you're looking at do the math here, Jack. 22 points, and then, you know, we're top 10, possibly, depending on the results. So we'll see. It's interesting. We'll see how this team shapes up on the next game. I'm really curious to see how we start the game again. It was nice how we started this one, but we got to continue that for sure. So some player news to get out of here before we get out of here. Real quick. Stats kind of, it's interesting. So, you know, from looking just by pure optics, our offense and defense both seem pretty bad, right? I think we've talked about how our offense is, it's okay. Defense is certainly terrible. But you look at the statistics, and I was looking over the standings this weekend, and I'm looking at the goals for, goals against, and I'm like, look at the teams around us. So Eintracht has 11 goals for. Hansa has 17 goals for. We have 27 goals for. We're, I think, 6th best offense in the league in terms of goals for. That surprised me. I was completely shocked when I say that. Nanders in the house says, may I say y'all are looking good today. Great talking points. Thank you. And happy Victory Monday. But yeah, 27 goals for. We are 6th best offense in the league. Yeah, the defense were 2nd worst, right? You can take that as a grain of salt. But I was shocked, you know, stats, just because you see how low we are on the table and how the optics sometimes can play a trick on you. Statistically, we've scored a lot of goals. We just give away too many goals. How many games have we given 3 to 5 goals, right? A lot. But I was surprised when I saw that stat.
I think part of it is just that we haven't had kind of like the singular guy who's banging them all in. They've been a lot spread out through a lot of people. I think also there's a decent number of them that come, you know, from set pieces or whatnot. So I think maybe the overall impression of us in the attacking phases isn't as strong as what the goals have ultimately proven to be. But I do think even with that return, there's a lot that we can improve in possession and on the offensive end, independent of what kind of goals we're scoring. That would serve us well, going forward.
All right, so player news to end this podcast. Keenan Karaman, one of the better strikers at the moment on the club, or attackers in the club. He's being getting interest from Hellas Verona of Serie A now. He's made no bones about it that his goal this year is to make the Turkish team for the Euro 2024. And many, I guess, I don't know if in the Turkish camp or what, or maybe his camp, thinking, hey, you're in a 16th division, 16th place team in the second division, in Germany. How is Turkey really going to look at a player who's in that kind of position? And so, maybe he's going to move on. I think it's going to be doubtful he's going to move on, especially to a team like Hellas Verona, who they're in a relegation spot themselves. Granted, they're in a top division in Serie A, but I mean, for me, if I was a betting man, I would say this is more fluff than anything else, and I doubt a move for Karaman would happen, especially if it was Hellas Verona. If it was another team that's a higher in the table of a first division club, okay, I could listen. But for me, it seems kind of eh. What about you?
I mean, I think second division Germany is much more his speed than first division Italy. Although that being said, I wouldn't blame him if, he kind of looked around and was like, I've probably had enough of my time at Schalke so far. Hasn't been the most fun,
Yeah.
Especially he's been there, so I wouldn't, obviously begrudge anybody wanting a change of scenery. I don't recall whether or not he was one of the players that's kind of been named. I've been seeing a lot of stuff going around in terms of, who might they be willing to part with, over the winter break, as they are looking to potentially bring in a lot of new names and, do some legitimate business this winter. So I forgot, if there'd been a statement about Karaman or not. But I mean, do you see him being somebody that we should be okay with letting go during the winter if he wants to dip?
If he wants to, yeah. I mean, we'd be okay. I think Poulter would probably get more playing time. Kiki Top would get more playing time as well. So I think we'd be okay. Karaman has been one of the bright spots this season so far, and so I'd rather not lose him for sure. But if he wanted to go out, like you said, I wouldn't begrudge him, and I think we'd be fine, honestly, because I think Lasman needs to step up, and he showed glimpses. Terodde as well, Poulter, the rest of the guys can step up. But yeah. So I'd be okay with him, but I'd rather not see him go, obviously. Now, you mentioned some of the other names that were invented this. So Nodders in the chat saying, I visited my brother-in-law 2 years ago and saw his team, Hansa Rostock, play St. Pauli, and it was incredible. Hansa's going to be a very difficult match. They're very tough. I know they will be. For sure they are. And this way we play in the season is going to be tough. But you mentioned another player that was mentioned. Karaman was one of the names. They really didn't say, they're like, it's doubtful that he'll be moving this Winterpause. But one player that thought would be the most likely to move is Sebastian Poulter. He's not getting really a lot of minutes right now. I think if I don't know him at all. I don't know what he's thinking at all. But when he said he was coming back to Schalke last year, it was under probably false pretenses because he thought Terodde was retiring. And so say, hey, I'm going to get a starting position here in the second division. I'm going to get my minutes. I'm going to get my goals and be fine. And all of a sudden, Simon kind of did the U-turn and said, yeah, I'm coming back. I'm back. And he hasn't, even under Rice or even on Gerards, he doesn't seem to be first or second name picking on the score sheet. And so he's not getting that many minutes. And
it's not even Terodde specifically that's keeping him out. It's Lasma, it's Karaman, it's other people. So
correct.
I don't blame him being disgruntled. He's been pretty vocal in the press about saying like, hey, I'm not trying to cause a scene and I'm, putting the work in and everything like that, but I'm also not going to lie about the fact that I'd prefer to be playing. I'm just that kind of guy. If I'm not getting minutes, I'm not happy. And it's been going on long enough that I don't blame him for wanting to go elsewhere.
So they don't think that he's going to be sold. They think it's more likely going to be a loan type deal where he's going to go somewhere and get more starting minutes. If it is with the case, right? He's a guy who could be useful for us, but he hasn't really given the minutes so far, and he's had injuries as well that kept him crept back up this year to help hampered him a little bit. So, and if he's the one of the attackers to go, I would feel the best about it. Not that I want to see him go, but I mean, if you're going to take anyone from us in terms of the strikers, I would say take Poulter over anybody else.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about him. He's kind of frustrating. There's a lot of times where I'm like, yeah, he doesn't bring enough. He's not good enough.
He should be a bully out there, and he's not.
And then there's other times where he plays better, and you kind of go like, that's more like it. But his best performances are usually those like that's more like it performances, and never like,
yeah,
like there's a phenomenal performance. You know what I mean? Like he's never hitting that next gear.
Yeah,
it's always kind of like he tricks you into thinking he's about to hit that next gear. So I don't know.
Yeah, he's a trickster.
No, he's put in some shifts for us, so I respect him.
Speaking of putting in shifts, we're just going with the segues tonight. One of the guys who was putting shifts early on in the season was arguably our best player. Nope, not arguably. He was the best player on the team, maybe the best player in the league. Honestly, the way his performances were. I'm talking about Marius Müller, the goalkeeper. He went out with a big injury. We thought we wouldn't see him for the longest time. Well, he is back in training on the training pitch. And there's hopes that he will return at the start of the Rückrunde. Gerald Asamoah as well was interviewed, and he mentioned that, yeah, we're really hopeful that he can get back on the team at the start of the Rückrunde. I think that would be fantastic. Not that Fairman or Heckerin or Langer played poorly. It just Marius Müller is on a different level to those guys. I gotta watch myself because I keep wanting to say Marius Bulter. It's a little nostalgia at me from last season, the Angry Tree. But Marius Müller, as good as those other guys are fine there. I think Müller is a class above those two guys or three guys. And he really, we could have been embarrassed early in the season if it wasn't for him. He really kept us in those games. Thoughts on the prospect of having Müller back much earlier than anticipated?
Just as things are settling down, we get the goalkeeper drama coming back, and I'm sure Ralph Fairman will be thrilled to see that Marius Müller is getting back healthy. Obviously, he didn't take it particularly well when he wasn't starting at the top of the season.
Yeah.
I mean, Müller had some great performances early. If he gets the starting job, I don't think anyone's going to be surprised or necessarily upset about that, given how he looked before.
Yep.
And nice to see that we just have a definite, progress and timetable for his return, as opposed to, was it Kaminsky's laceration on his leg?
Took a year.
Whatever that was like, the longest term, like nebulous injury of all time. So yeah, Muller's kind of been out in the wilderness for a bit. Nice to see him making, noticeable strides back to a return.
Yeah, Dirk says don't jinx Müller, and Pod Animation says our bad luck with injuries was too much. Yeah, it seems perpetual with the amount of injuries we get every season. But yeah, if Fairman, is worried about his starting position, hey, keep playing well, get 2 games to prove that you are just, you should be a starter, and then hey, give Gerard something to think about when coming in the Rückrunde. And I think with these kind of injuries, the injury that he had, any injury really, you don't want to rush it either, right? If Fairman's not giving you a reason to pull him, like he's not making mistakes, keep Müller, healthy, and then if you get any kind of wavering from Fairman's performance, then you bring him back in, right?
Fairman's been fine for the most part.
Yeah.
That bad sort of aerial moment in the 5-3 loss recently, but outside of that, he's been Fairman-ish.
Yeah, Fairman-ish. I like it. And then the last thing I got, Dennis Undav. He's a player currently with Stuttgart. He was he's on loan from Brighton Hove. They interviewed him and they asked him like, oh, hey, he's talked about how he's a Schalke boy at heart. He'd one day love to play for Schalke if they ever made it to the top division. He said, hell, I'll even go to the second division for them. I would love to play for them sometime. The board apparently never, knowing his love for them, never made an offer for him. Brighton Hove ended up buying him for 7 million euros. Guy's now killing it at Stuttgart. 8 goals, 1 assist through the first 10 games. Obviously having Garassi over there doing really, really good things over there. But I think it's different. I mean, you can take it with a grain of salt because obviously Stuttgart are playing phenomenal this year. A team who nearly got relegated last season are 3rd in the table. Probably the biggest surprise in this season, and then a second close to probably Leverkusen. But it's nice to hear that there are fans of there's plenty of players who still grew up loving Schalke and would love to come back to the club. It's just like, I think given our current state, it'd be hard to get those players on this team. I think he's right. If we were in the Bundesliga and we had some money to spend, hey, it'd be nice to go after him, right? Especially a guy who got 8 goals this year in the Bundesliga. But I think it's just a lot of wishing and wanting and giving us hopes that we're never going to get. Ultimately, that's what it seems like. Schalke. We get our hopes built up for no reason, and then boom, they get shot away. And this would just be another prime example of that with Denny Zundorf.
If Barfon hasn't been retired for too long, what's he up to? Is he going to come back and strap on the boots for a couple games? I don't know.
Yeah, Raul probably can still play, right? And Huntelaar, bring the gang back. Just bring the gang back.
Yeah. We hear a lot about this, and then it rarely seems to materialize. But
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah,
something sense. Gives us a nice emotional hug, as things are going badly in the season, to hear that other people elsewhere still are tuning in and caring about the progress and everything. So
yeah, and like I guess it was last year before, or 2-3 years ago, when we had like Huntelaar and Kolasinac came back because they wanted to help the club. You like seeing those kind of things, and even
Eric just mentioned Gosens from as well. Remember we almost signed him at one point. It seemed like, and it didn't happen. I mean,
yeah,
really wish
I
we
know.
gone back and made that happen.
Kraus, another one.
Yeah,
Kraus, yeah. Nubel, well, we won't mention Nubel. We won't talk about Nubel, but yeah, that's all I got for tonight, Jack. Keep it short and simple. We got obviously a game, big importance for us. We said it was a must-win this past game. I think a Hansa Rostock game is too, and Greuther Fürth to an extent. We got to get a good result, but Hansa, it's a team. It's a direct rival at the moment for relegation, so we gotta step up. It's going to be a tough game, as Nonder said in there. But let's get another result, get another positive start to the game as we did in the last game, and hey, hopefully we can get another 3 points, Jack. Get another victory money before we close this Hinrunde out.
That would be nice. Back-to-back relegation 6-pointers. Hate to say that at this point in the season, but it is. So
it's true. It's sad but true.
Yeah. But hey, got the first half of that done against Osnabrück. Time for the second half against Rostock.
Yeah, the hardest part is the first part, right? It's I was pleasantly surprised by the result in that game. So, all right, let's get on out of here, Jack. Nice quick pod as opposed to last week. Let our followers know where they can follow you on social media.
At JMMangan, JMMangan on Twitter.
Dirk says only 2 more wins and we're golden. Let's see what's possible. You can follow me at R_KHARMAN. More importantly, follow Schalke America on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, everywhere on social media. If you don't follow us yet on YouTube, make sure you subscribe there, leave comments, like our videos, be much appreciated. You can listen to our podcast anywhere that streams music. And yeah, this Victory Monday is brought to you by Schalke. No, it isn't, but it'd be nice. We'll catch you guys next week. Hopefully a repeat podcast of this week. We'll see. Glück auf.